Hello, this is the next video on using the Google Tools for our PTSA unit. This one's going to be focused on Google Drive. And basically, Google Drive is your own little area of the cloud within Google. It allows you to store files, either ones you've created on your computer or ones that you created within Drive. They do have word processing documents, spreadsheets, presentations, and a few other things that you may be interested in using. So you can either create things on your computer and put them out there, or you can go out there and create things out on the cloud. One of the advantages of using this is that you can, once created out on Drive, you can access it from any other computer or your mobile device, any other kind of computer than the one you have at home. If you're doing this on a Mac and you go to a PC, all you have to do is log in with your PTA account, and you can go to Drive and all your stuff is there. Another advantage, of course, is that this information is sitting out there waiting for the next person who takes over your position. So information that you have created is there for them to just build on. So it's a nice way to share information with the next person in line. And a third advantage is that individual files or whole folders of files can be shared with the rest of the people in the unit. So once I create something and share it with everyone else in the unit, or some of the people in the unit, however I choose to share it, they can log in with their account, go to Google Drive, and see those files. They can look at them, they can comment on them, they can modify them. It all depends on how I set up the sharing when I create this document. So let's get started. I've already logged in as my account, and the way to get to Drive is go here to the little square thing and click on Drive. This is going to take me to my Drive. There are some things here. Basic lay of the land is I've got some folders and some other controls over here on the left. These are files that have either been created by me or been shared with me. And we can tell by the owner column here that most of these things have been shared. And this is something that was created by me. Here's the date it was created. Here's the date these things were modified by the owner, which is a different Google account that I have. So this is kind of the lay of the land. You'll do most of your things here. You can get a different view of the things by clicking on this little box, and now we see things in more of an kind of a preview mode, and we can scroll up and down and look at those things, or go back to this detailed list with the dates and such. So let's get started. I'm going to start with creating different products here with the tools that Google Drive provides. There's a create option or a button here. You click on that and you can see the things you can create. Folders, which we'll get into later. It's just a way to organize things so it's not all in one area. Then we can create documents, presentations, spreadsheets, forms, and drawings. I'm going to focus on the first three because they're most typically used. Forms and drawings are pretty intuitive if you've created forms or drawings in other programs on your computer. These products are very similar to Microsoft Office or OpenOffice type tools. So if you go create a document, it's going to look and behave a lot like something you may have already used somewhere else. So let's start here. I'm going to create a document. Typically a document is used for a bunch of words, paragraphs, things like that. Presentations are typically words and graphics, charts, other graphical elements for presentations, for signs, things like that. And of course spreadsheets, the real power there is that they have formulas for manipulating numbers. So in counting, averaging, things like that, spreadsheets are really good. We do a lot of things with money or numbers like membership numbers, so a spreadsheet is a good place to have that information. So I'm going to focus on documents, and then we'll take a look at presentations and spreadsheets quickly. So let's start with documents. I click on document. I have a brand new document. The lay of the land here is currently I've not titled this document. I've got menus, so everything you can do is up here somewhere. through these menus. Now there are some shortcut things. You can find these in the menus, but some normal things or typical things that are done, like printing, undoing, changing your font, aligning things, there's another control here so you can get to them quickly. Hover over any control and you'll get a little bit of info about what it is. And you'll notice, for instance, this is to italicize text, and the CTRL dash or plus I means if you hold down Control and hit the I button, the same thing will happen. So if you're a good typist and you don't want to pick your fingers up from the keyboard and go over to the mouse and click around, you can use the keyboard shortcuts to do the same thing. You'll see Control B, Control I, Control U, and there's not one for that, Control K, etc. You'll also see those shortcuts in some of the areas here, like Control O for open, Control P for print. If they're available, you'll see them listed on the menu items as well. Okay, so let's start with naming our document. You can go ahead and get to work if you want, or you can first name the document. I'm going to name it. And so I click up there on Untitled Document and I get a little pop-up box, and this is where I give it a name. If the thing that you're creating is for a particular date or event or something else very specific, you want to include that in the name. It'll just make your life and other people that are using this document make their lives a little bit easier in understanding what the thing is before they open it up. So give it a meaningful title, and if it's date sensitive, I usually like to put the date in there. So we'll just call this a test doc, spelled correctly. And I'll go 140927, so I can remember when I made this document. I'm going to edit that because it's incorrect. Okay, so there's my name of my document. Click OK, and you can see that the name appears up here, and I can get to work. Again, I could have got to work right away and then named it later. It doesn't matter. Google will save your work without a name until you give it a name, and then it will fix the name for you and all that. So several things that we can do here. Let's see, first let me just put some text in here. I'm not a good typist, so I'm just going to paste some text in to make my life easier. Okay, so now I have some text that I pasted in. A little trick you could do also, if you've already created information somewhere else on your computer, you open it, copy, come in here to Google Doc, and paste it. It'll all magically appear. It won't be formatted as pretty as it was on your computer, but you can clean that up. So here's some text. I stole this from a mission statement that we have, and now I'm going to work on this text. So there's several things that I can do once I've got my information here. I can insert things such as, let's say, an image. I need to put my cursor by clicking and get the little flashing bar so that I know where the thing is going to be inserted. So I can click on Insert. I'll select Image, and I'm presented with several options. I can upload something from my computer. I'd be switching over to something else on my computer to find the file, and I can drag it right into this area and drop it. I can, if I know the web address of the image, I could click here and probably copy and paste that. If you happen to have pictures already uploaded to Google in their album or photo area, you could click there. Of course, one of my favorites here is Google Drive. Maybe I already have the file I'm looking for somewhere else on my Google Drive, and sure enough I do. I've got our logo. So I would see multiple things here. I'm going to pick that one, click on Select, and it'll be inserted into my picture, or into my document. That's a little big, so I click on it once, grab these little handles, make it a little more reasonably sized. Let's scroll up, still too big, and that's pretty good. One note on these handles, grabbing the corner will keep their proportion the same, so it will always look the way it did, just bigger or smaller. If you grab one of these side ones, you're going to stretch it out and make it look kind of weird. So if that's what you want to do, go for it. I'm going to undo that last change so it goes back to the way it was. Might as well talk about that. Undo will do just what it says. It will undo the last thing that you did. Redo will redo the last thing you did. So I can go back and forth, and in fact I can undo several layers of things that I did. So these are things that I've have done in order that I did them. Now I can redo them back in order that I did them, inserting, making it smaller, making it a little smaller, bigger, smaller, stretching it out, and then back to the size I want. Or not. Okay. Now I'm just going to do it by hand. Okay, so now I've got a picture inserted. If I want to insert something else such as a table, I can position my cursor where I want the table to be inserted, and this is a nice way to format like rows and columns of information. So I might want to go down here at the bottom, make a space, insert a table, and it's going to give me this little box of little boxes. And so I drag my cursor over however many, in this case I've got 3 columns and 4 rows of information. This can be changed later, so this is a good starting point. Click once I've selected it, and I've got these little boxes to put information in. So I can populate these with table type information. Maybe I want to create a little membership report, so I could put students that are members. And I'm not a good speller, obviously. Parents and staff. So there we go, and still not a good speller. Little red underline, right click, it's going to help me. Thank you, Google. Okay, and then I could put last year and this year. And now I can put in numbers for each of these, and we can look at it and see how our membership was last year and this year across 3 different groups. This is just one way of using tables. Now you notice I got a lot of space here. If I move my mouse right over the line for this column, I can click and hold, drag it over, and just make that a little smaller. This got big, so now I'm going to do the same thing, click and hold, drag it across, let it go, and do it at the end of the table as well. And now I've got a little bit more reasonable column. You can also do the same thing horizontally by going onto a horizontal line, grabbing it, dragging it up a little bit. It looks like it's already formatted for a particular size, so that's not going to work. So now I've got a table in my information. This is looking pretty good. Now, in addition to those things, I can also insert other things. A couple interesting things might be page number. We can put a page at the top or the bottom. Clicking there, there's the number. Now, just like text up here in the main document, this can be modified. And one of the things I want to do is make it bold. Another thing I might want to do is, if I click here, I have some other controls such as center, left align, right align, or this proportional or justified. I like to center it, so I'm going to click there. And you'll see this little pop-up menu came from more. There's several things you can do, like make bulleted lists, do indenting, change some line spacing and such. Okay, I'm happy with that. So click back out on the main document, scroll around, make sure I'm happy with it. And I want to clean it up a little bit more. So some other things I can do with the text. It all looks pretty plain. If I want to spice it up a little bit, I'm going to have to undo that because I meant to select the text, not the picture. Click and hold, drag it across the name of our school. And I want to make that stand out a little bit, so I'm going to make that bold. And here's the name of our group, our organization. I'm going to make that bold. And I'm going to throw italics in there just to make it stand out a little bit different. And for fun, I'm going to emphasize this by underlining it. So there, I've changed the format of some of the text. And again, you have to first select the text you want to work on. And this is just by clicking, dragging the mouse around. If it's not right, let go, click somewhere else, start over. And then grab the text or select the text you want, and then do what you want to do with it. Other options are you can change the font. This is going to start to look like a ransom note, but it's just for example. So I can do multiple things to that text. I can emphasize other things different ways. What else might I want to do here? oh, I lost the selection while I was goofing around there, so I have to select again and go through here and now make my change. So the font's a little different. So I've got I was going to say a pretty nice looking document, but I have a very interesting looking document. So I've got it formatted the way I want. Now, as I'm doing making modifications, Google is saving. So when I look up here and see this all changes have been saved, I know that I can just close this tab. I can click on that button and it'll go away. Here's the document in my list of documents. You can see it was created by me. It was created at 3:05 today. And so it's now here saved. If I want to work on it, I click, I get a new tab, and I'm back to my document. Still loading. There we go. So here's my document. It's ready to send out. Probably need to put some numbers in this table. And I can send it out, I can share it, I can print it, whatever it is I want to do with it. So it's now ready to go. Couple more things that I can do here. Now that I've got this awesome document, I want to share it with everyone in my my unit. So I can do that a couple different ways. Within the document, while I'm working on it, I can go in to the share options, and that's under File. Wait for it to finish loading. File and Share right at the top. Click here, and this gives me some basic options for sharing. Probably best to click on the advanced link here so I get more options. So there's several different ways to share. I can share by listing email addresses of those people that I want to have access to this document. I can also share by copying this, which is a very long web address, and the easiest way to do it is to copy it here, and then I can go to an email, paste it, and send it to the people that I want to have access, and say, hey, click on this link and you'll go to my document. Another way to share this document is to click here on Private. And now I have a few kind of group type options, and an interesting one for us is I can share this with everybody in our group. So anyone who has an oahsptsa.org email address, I can share that with them just by clicking a button. So I can click here, and this document will be shared with them. I can share it with anybody in the world. I do not recommend this. I can share it with anyone with that link, and that's an option, copying that link that I was showing you just a bit ago. But probably this would be the simplest to select, or copying with the link. Now once you've picked who can work on, or I should say who can share your document, you need to decide what it is they can do. And you can see this being everyone in having one of our email addresses can view it. They can't do anything else with it than look, and no one else can even look at it. But if I click and pull this down, I've got a few other options. They can comment. What that means is they can add little bubbles of text recommending changes to the document, but they can't actually change the text directly. So what that looks like when you open up the document after someone has commented is there are little bubbles of text off to the right side saying, hey, why don't you make this bold, or hey, this thing is looking like a ransom note, maybe tone it down a little bit, or whatever. Or if you're collaborating with others on a document, you can choose Can Edit. And what that means is those people can go in, open it up just like you did when you created it, and can modify it however they want. Google does save each version, so you can, if it gets really kind of out of control and you want to go back to a previous version, there's a way to go back a few versions and get back to where you started and begin that process over. So depending on what you're doing, view is probably the simplest. If you want people to comment so you can make the changes, you can select Can Edit, or if you want them to jump right in and make the changes, then select Edit. Once you've made your determination, then you can click on the, there we go, you can click on the Save button, and those save settings have been changed. And you can see this is now a little bit different. It says people with the Orchid Academy High School PTSA, that's anyone with our OA hsptsa.org email address, can comment. You, of course, you own this because you created it. You can do everything. And if you want to add other people, go right ahead. Once I click there, it's done. Now anyone else that logs in and goes to Drive will see this document under there shared with me. Because I shared it with others, they will see it there. I believe that is it for working on a particular document. Actually, one more thing. You can manage folders and such from directly here in the document by clicking on File and Move to Folder. And so this is going to show you existing folders, which I have none. I just have Drive, like the top folder. So just like we did in Mail and Contacts, we can create a folder. And I'm going to give it a fancy name. And click on Create. So I've now created a folder. And I'm going to move this document to that folder. Don't see anything different here. But when I go over here, you can see that it's not here in my top level anymore. But there's this new folder. I click on it, and there's my document. I can create other documents here. I can move existing ones here if I want, and keep things a little bit organized. Probably a good folder name would be the school year, assuming you're going to put things that are pertinent to this year in that folder for yourself next year or for your predecessor. So keep that in mind. Organizing so you can find things quickly is a great idea. You can do both sharing and creating folders from out here at this view of from Drive as well. You can create a folder, and why don't I go ahead and do what I just told you to do and create a folder for this year. And I like to just give it the year range. There's my folder, and I can copy things in there. So what do I want to copy? Well, I'm going to go here to this test folder. And I'm going to select this thing. I think I'm going to move it. So I'm going to move it to a new place. I'm going to move it to this folder. Click on Move. It's gone from the test folder. I get a little feedback. It's been moved. When I click here on the new folder I created, there it is. So I just moved it from one folder to another. And one last little folder maintenance thing. Since I know that's empty, I'm going to select it. I'm going to click on the trash can and get rid of that folder. Okay, so now you may have some folders already on your computer that you want to share out here. And just so you understand the difference between creating things here on Google Drive and adding files that you already created on your computer, it depends on what the file is that you're sharing. Let's say it's a Microsoft Word document. You can put it out here, but you can't edit it out here. You can only copy it back to your computer and then modify it, and then copy it back up to Drive. Also, if you're sharing something like a Microsoft Word document or an Excel spreadsheet or a PowerPoint presentation, if you're sharing it with others, you need to ensure that they have Microsoft Office on their computer to be able to even open that file up and look at it. If you're using something like Microsoft Publisher or other things that not everybody has on your computer, it can be a bit of a problem, because if people don't have that program on their computer, they can't even look at what you have, much less modify it and send it back to you. So creating things with the Google Docs and Sheets and presentations makes it universally editable by anyone who can log in. Basically, if you have a computer and have an account, you can get in there and create things and share them. But there are several things that you may want to put up here for reference. You can see I've got several things in my inbox already. I've got a couple of PDFs. I do have this is a Microsoft Publisher file, and of course a graphic, and some more PDFs. So I can look at these. I can just click on one, wait, and it'll load up. But of course I can't edit it. I can print it, I can share it, but I can't do anything with it as far as modifying it. Let me go click on the X to go back. I'm done looking at that. Another example would be this Microsoft Publisher file. I can click on it, And Google does its best to try to preview that, but its publisher is not used by as many people as Microsoft Word or PowerPoint. So it's having trouble actually showing this document to me. So what it's recommending is download it to your computer and then deal with it. So I'm not going to do that. I would email the person who shared that with me and say, hey, I can't look at it. Can you make it a PDF or do something else with it? So the way to, actually there's a couple different ways to put files from your computer into your Google Drive area. And one here is upload. So if I click on upload, I can go onto my computer, and this is just the standard open dialog box that you should see on your computer when you're doing anything else. And I can locate a file of interest. This looks interesting. I'm going to click on that. You can see that it's uploading. It was a small file, so it went pretty fast. It's done. I can dismiss this, or I can go click here and go into sharing and share that thing I just uploaded. I'm not going to do that, but it's the same kind of box. You can click on advanced and do all the stuff we already covered. So I can click on the X and get rid of that, and we can see that I have this new picture here. Let's click on it. Oh, okay, that's our PTSA logo. And so now that it's on my drive, I can use it and to make letterhead or add it to spice up my documents or spreadsheets or whatever. I should say PDFs are viewable and printable. The JPEG or GIFs or other graphic format files can't. Google does know how to not edit those, but does know how to integrate those into documents and things that you create. And I did that in my example when I put the this graphic file in my Word document. And once the file is here, then you can do like I did earlier. You can select it and move it to a file. Or I'm sorry, to a folder. You can of course delete it, or you can also share it here if you'd like. And you can put multiple files here. Nice thing about having it up here is that if you're at your work computer, you can put it up here, and when you come home you can then download it back to your home computer to work on it or have it or whatever. So it's a nice storage area, and again you can share it with others. There are probably a couple of couple more things to talk about here. One is shared with me. So these are files. If I click here, this is a folder of things that have been shared with me that other people have created. So the president account has shared these things, and I can click on them, and depending on how they shared them, I can either just look at them, or I can maybe comment on them or modify them. And then let's see. Allie shared with me a list. This is from last year. And then we've got things that my old PTSA account that I shared. So these things, depending on how they were shared, like I said, I can modify them. There is one thing, let's see if I can remember how to do this. If I want, let's say this spreadsheet that Allie shared with me, one thing I can do is make it my own. I can make a copy. So I can't modify hers, but I can make a copy of it, make my own version, and then I can modify it. So I believe I click here. Okay. And now that file should be visible here on my drive. It's right there. And now it is, I believe it is mine. So I should be able to go in and edit it. Yeah, so I can go in and modify it, and then you see it's saving and it's done. So now I can make modifications to that. Let's close that, and while we're there, let's close this one. Okay, so real quick, let's take a look at these other two things I wanted to show you. Presentations, again, are signs, PowerPoint type presentations, and if you use PowerPoint it's going to look similar. There are several different page layouts. These are the color schemes or themes you can choose. Those can be modified somewhat, but to tell you the truth, I don't know how to do those here or in PowerPoint. So you can select a theme, and it'll make all of your slides look like that. You can see I've got a title slide. You click, type in what you want to include in those areas. Here's a subtitle, and I can add subtitle there. And then I can add another slide. And from here I can choose different layouts of slides. So it's this is the title, and then maybe a bunch of bullets down here. I can have 2 columns if I'm doing a comparison or something. Just a title and nothing down here if I want to put a picture or whatever. And so I can just, let's do this one. Click there, and now I've added a second slide. I can go back here and update my title slide, and go here and create a title for this slide, add things in these columns. And there are several other options here, like inserting images again, links. You can put videos. I've not done that. You can put a table in if you want to display some column row kind of data. Several different options in here that are very much like PowerPoint, modifying your selected text. So say I go back here and I want to change some of this text. I just select it, and then I can go in and format it and change it to something unusual. Again, click here to give it a name. Click here to share it. Move it to folders. Throw it away if you don't want it. I think there's an option here to actually view your slideshow. So I don't think you can see all of this on your screen, but this is previewing what it would look like if I showed this on a projector. So I'm going to close that. And since Google saved it for me, it's right here. I'm going to click and delete that so I don't forget later. And other thing you can create a spreadsheet. And again, this is very number-based, but has, by this time, should be pretty familiar controls. We've got file, where we can do sharing, move to trash, get rid of that, some other settings. Editing, like undo and copy and paste. We've got formatting, so this stuff should look pretty familiar. And if you're familiar with Excel, you know that there are formulas you can type in here. So I can put some number data in here, and then if I know some commands here, I can start with equal, and I can put in something like sum up, and I can select all the whatever those numbers are. Close the parentheses, click OK, and it now has added all those numbers up for me. And there's a bunch of different formulas you can do. And you can see as I'm typing, this is showing me different formulas. I can do an average of those numbers. Press enter, and the average of those numbers is 2.8. That in and of itself is not interesting, but just know that there's a bunch of formulas that you can do with numbers. That's the power of spreadsheets, are crunching numbers. Let's close that. And one last thing, there are some settings, really not much in the way of settings here, but click on the little gear button, go to settings. And one last point that I want to make, first off, you may want to set these things, particularly time zone, and we are Pacific, which is, you're probably watching this and can see it, and I can't. Pacific time, there we are. And the last thing is, there is a limit on how much stuff that you can store here. So each account has 30 gigabytes. That's free. If we find that we need more, we can pay and get more space. Now, things that you put on here from your computer that are well, it actually says right here, PDFs, docs, anything else other than the Google Documents, Spreadsheets, those products, any of those things count towards your 30 gigabyte limit. The Google products, like the docs and spreadsheets and presentations and such, those don't count. So you can make an infinity number of documents and it won't use up any of your 30 gigs. It's only the things that you put on your computer that count towards that. So if you have a lot of stuff, you may want to go check this and just see how much space you have left. And actually, it looks like I have stuff in the trash that I should probably get rid of. Let's see if I can figure out how to do that. I'm going to save my changes to my language and time zone. Okay, and here's my trash folder. Looks like I've got some things there. And I should be able to empty trash. And it's just saying once you click empty trash here, they're gone forever. You can't get them back. And they're all gone. Let's see, go back and look at those settings, and you can see it has not updated, but at some point it will. And that really is the basics. As we get into using Google Docs, or I should say Google Drive, we may find things that we need to do, maybe some more trainings on particulars of using the presentations or spreadsheets or whatever. So that's it for Google Docs. Take care.